The World Cup kicks off 1 year from today, but between tariffs and travel bans, there are questions around how motivated fans might be to attend the games. This is the first World Cup that's hosted by 3 countries, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. And right now, tensions between the 3 countries are high because of tariffs and broken trade agreements. So what will it look like as the 3 prepare to welcome visitors to games meant to bring nations together? Joining us with more this morning is Andrew Zimbalist. He's an expert on the economics of sport. Great to have you with us.
Good to be with you.
This is far from the first World Cup to face any kind of controversy. Of course, there was the talk of boycotting the Russia Games in 2018 and again in Qatar in 2022, both because of human rights abuses. And after it was all said and done, how much of an impact did those controversies have on the World Cup?
Very, very little. I think if you go back perhaps to the very large boycott in 1980, where Moscow hosted the Games, there were 60 countries that boycotted the Olympics then. President Carter was the ringleader, and at that point in time, it was over the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. 60 countries boycotted. 4 years later, the Soviet bloc countries retaliated and didn't attend the Los Angeles Olympics in 1984. That had virtually no economic impact on Los Angeles whatsoever. And in terms of the effect of the boycott, in 1980, the Soviet Union did not withdraw troops from Afghanistan, so it didn't accomplish its purpose. And the economic impact is pretty much opaque because the Soviet Union was controlling all media at that time. So boycotts are very hard to have any positive effect. Civil rights situations don't change. And it's hard to imagine, other than perhaps some individual countries, and perhaps certainly individual tourists will decide, in reaction to Trump's policies, that they'll decide that they don't want to attend the 2028 Olympics or the 2026 World Cup. But those will be individual and isolated cases, and I wouldn't expect much of an impact on the Games, and certainly not for Canada or Mexico.
This World Cup, we know, is going to be attended by players from 48 different countries, but it comes at the same time that President Trump has imposed those sweeping travel restrictions, an outright ban on 12 countries, limitations on a further 7. Plus, there are the trade tariffs, which have countries like ours here in Canada restricting travel and money going to the U.S. So how could the personal nature of these policies affect travel by fans?
Well, again, I think that there is a good amount of criticism internationally of Trump's politics in general, and certainly also his trade policies and some of his international political policy. So I expect that there'll be individuals who decide not to travel to the United States. But again, as far as I can foresee, those numbers will be small in the aggregate and won't have a major impact. In terms of the travel bans, Trump has already made clear that he'll make an exemption for travel to the Olympic Games, at least for the athletes and coaches and officials. But insofar as they're individuals, yeah, I'd expect some reduction in what otherwise would be very strong demand for the Games. But the ticket sales are a small part of the story, the revenue story for hosting both the Olympics and the World Cup. So I don't expect much of an effect there.
Well, then that leads me to my next question. The Conference Board of Canada recently pointed out that our country could benefit from international travelers coming here over the U.S. because of this anti-American sentiment. So the bans might actually be a boost for people who want to watch some World Cup action, but they don't want to head to the U.S.
Well, I think that's certainly the case, and I wish Canada the best. Hopefully things won't get too out of hand in the United States. But we're seeing that Trump's policies not only are affecting world trade and discussions amongst world leaders, but they're affecting now political protest on the street. And insofar as that gets more and more unwieldy, I can see more tourists deciding let's benefit or let's enjoy the Games in Canada rather than the United States.
You know, while fans may choose to change their minds, attend or not attend, we know that events like this always attract people who are looking for the eyes of the world. And because of the global exposure of the World Cup, it's often targeted by demonstrators and protesters. Given what we are witnessing happening right now in the United States, starting in LA, what kind of threats could protests represent to these Games?
Well, I think that's a very serious question, and it's hard to know how that's going to play out. Certainly in Mexico, the students were protesting in tens of thousands of numbers prior to the 1968 Olympics, and the government wouldn't have it. They were afraid that the student protests would look ugly on the world stage, and they came in with very repressive forces, with estimates that of somewhere between 300 and 400 students were killed. So you can, when a country goes on the World Cup, certainly protesters who see an opportunity to voice their demands and have the world see them are more likely to engage in political protest. And quite independent from the motivation of being on the world stage, the political and social situation in the United States is getting very severe, and we might see an escalation in protests independent of the hosting of the World Cup. So I think that's a major concern going forward. We also have in Los Angeles, of course, the ongoing threat of fires and earthquakes and flooding, which we've seen over the last year. So there are a lot of sources here for instability and uncertainty going forward.
We are going to see how it all plays out 1 year from today. Professor Emeritus of Economics at Smith College, Andrew Zimbalist, great to have you with us this morning. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.